40 Gradi Ombra is a 1976 Italian comedy film directed by Sergio Martino and starring Barbara Bush, Edwige Fenech, and Dale Hayden. While the cast was relatively popular internationally, advertising for the film in the US concentrated almost exclusively on Marty Feldman, even though he only appeared in one segment of the film. The original Italian title was 40 gradi ombra del lenzuolo, translatable as 40 degrees under the seats. It was followed later in 1976 by a sequel, titled as Let's Get Without Modesty, an Italian anthology film comedy that features a series of 5 short comedic sketches that parody Italian moss. First segment, One for the Money. In Switzerland, an affluent Italian wife of a traveling executive is visited by an eccentric stranger, also Italian, who offers her 20 million lire to have love with him. Initially put off by the idea, she ultimately agreed to his offer, unaware of the stranger's actual business. Second segment, The Bodyguard. A pampered and bold socialite grows weary of the extreme measure her bodyguard employs to keep tab on her. However, when she steals away for an impulsive encounter with a visiting artist, she realizes his level of devotion may have been justified. Third segment, Catch It While It's Hot. What initially appeared to be a tryst between a countess and her put-upon chauffeur reveals surprising secret about the woman, man, and circumstances of their rendezvous. Fourth segment, Dream Girl. An extremely attractive lawyer's wife is ogled by almost all the men in her neighborhood, but one particularly snappishly man regularly phones her, complaining of the many erotic dreams she has inspired in him. Over time, she finds her own dream impacted by their conversations, and she asks to meet him so that they can both get back to normal. Fifth segment, A Dog's Day. A vertigo sufferer considering renting an apartment discovers a woman from the apartment next to his space out on her ledge, appearing to contemplate suicide. He coaxes her into his room for safety, and they are quickly attracted to each other. She insists on entertaining him in her own apartment, but when he joins her, he runs afoul of Othello, her extremely jealous dog. It's a little hard to judge this film given the painfully unfunny dubbing of the English language version. The people that dubbed these things often didn't seem to take their job too seriously, and this is especially true of these Italian comedies, where they apparently felt they had to add to the humor by giving their characters stupid voices. Unfortunately, giving goofy voices to gorgeous foreign actresses like Barbara Bouchet and Edwige Fenech doesn't make the movie any funnier, just a lot less lovely. Strangely, the one American here, Sidney Rom, doesn't seem to have been dubbed, but it's kind of hard to tell as she talks in a stupid and annoying voice naturally. Conceptually and visually, the humor is a bit stronger. The Thomas Millen character cock bottle glasses and hat with a long feather that become erect when he gets excited are not nearly as funny as the filmmakers seem to think. But the famously bug-eyed comedian Marty Feldman does some fine physical humor in The Bodyguard. Sketch about a bodyguard who takes his job very seriously, not leaving the side of his female charge even when she is in the bath or making love. The movie does seem to heap a lot of humiliation on the most beautiful women in the cast. Barbara Bush is tricked into having love with her randy business partner of her husband in the first sketch, and Edwige Fenech plays a society woman who accidentally has love with the wrong partner. who turned out to be the most overweight and grotesque of the grotesque Italian men on the street corner that lee at her every day as she walked by in tight skirt. If they absolutely had to humiliate the female cast member, they should have gone with the irritating Sydney Rom rather than class act like Bouchet and Fenech. But Rom get off pretty easy playing a hot woman with a very vicious dog in the final sketch. This is a very typical love comedy with all sort of jokes and innuendos in it. It really reminded me of the British Carry On film series in terms of its comedy, with as a difference that this movie consists out of 5 short stories and has some better looking women in it, but it's being just as immature with its comedy basically. Seriously, it's all very childish really and not all that clever with its story and situation. A real simplistic movie lots of people will still enjoy watching for what it is. Most people will say or perhaps complain that this movie is being negative toward women because they are the ones who are showing some skin and are being portrayed as lust object in this movie. I, however, feel that this movie is just as hot toward men, since the movie portrays almost every single male in this movie as love-hungry animal, with only one thing on his mind. I know it's all done in the name of comedy, but it's just a bit too stereotypical and simplistic for my taste. I'm not complaining about it though that the movie consists out of 5 short and unrelated stories. I actually think that this was a good move for the movie to take. It ensured that the movie never dragged or start to repeat itself with its comedy and situation. Each story is a fresh one with different characters in it. However, most of them really aren't that well written, funny or interesting. I only really like the story involving Marty Feldman. That guy was truly hilarious even in Italian. He has comedy written all over him. His story alone is really worth checking out and the only one that ever cracked me up. A very immature Italian comedy that served its purpose well enough, I guess, but just never truly become a great, clever, surprising or hilarious movie to watch, except for all the scene involving Marty Feldman. Well, it's not big and it's not clever, but 40 Gradi is great fun and rather funny in places. Plus, it features performances from 5 of Italy's hottest ladies. The story in the film apparently focuses on Italian humor, but to me, it seemed pretty universal, and I think that even people who don't know everything about Italian humor will find this funny. The film features 5 separate stories, all involving love and all ending with a funny and ironic little twist. The stories are all around 20 minutes long and most of them will raise a smile from the audience. The story mostly seems to focus on a hot woman bewitching a weak-willed man, but when the women in question are Barbara Bouchet, Dyla Haddon, Joanna Raleigh, Edwige Fenech and Sydney Rom, it's not hard to see things from the male point of view. The film is perhaps not quite as hot as it thinks it is or want to be, but there is no shortage of hot women lolling around in next to nothing, and director Sergio Martino manages a lot of nice visuals which are sure to keep the audience happy. The first story is one of the best and features Barbara Bush as a respectable woman who decides to take a sediment up on his offer of love for 20 million lire 3 times, only to find that he is not exactly playing straight with her. We then move on to Marty Feldman's bodyguard, who take his job of guarding Dyla Haddon's socialite very seriously. The tale features a little too much silly slapstick humor, my liking, but it's funny in places and Dyla Haddon is great to look at. The third story is probably the weakest of the 5, but nice enough as Alberto Leonello's chauffeur tried to woo Joanna Raleigh's countess. Edwige Fenech is up next in a tale aptly titled Dream Girl, starring alongside Thomas Millen, who really saw his versatility as a geek guy who dreamed about her. Fenech really does look great in this story, almost as hood as she did in Martino's excellent Joanna Longthigh. and this is definitely the most erotic of the quintet. The film ends on a high with a story revolving around an overprotective dog, which succeed in ruining Aldo Marciano's chances with Sidney Rom. This film may not appeal to everyone. I would say that if you have seen Woody Allen's Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Love and didn't like it, you maybe shouldn't bother, but otherwise 40 Gradi is an amusing and fun little love comedy. While an English language export version was created by the producer, American distributors significantly altered it for their domestic release. The credit sequence was truncated to a single title card that featured multi-film's credit, omitting all other credit for the cast and above-the-line crew, and the closing credit crawl was removed. Also, the order of the segment was changed to present Dreamgirl first, followed by The Bodyguard, one for the money, catch it while it's hot, and closing with A Dog's Day. La Cavallona is the nickname given to Amelia, a prosperous and charming young woman, married to a distinguished man who lives in a town in Romania, where all men would like to have an intimate encounter with her. The only one to publicly ignore her in her exuberance is Cavalier Merelli, a very unattractive man who calls her repeatedly, accusing her of upsetting him in his dreams, where he actually seduces her in return, until she, who totally ignores her appearance and identity, offers him a clarifying encounter. The man, very shy, declined only to bitterly discover that he has lost a splendid opportunity because another man equally ugly and rather burly appeared by chance, who will then be pleased publicly by telling the fact to his fellow villagers. Two spouses are unable to have full intercourse because the husbands suffer from erectile dysfunction. At the beginning of the episode, the couple try to stage the erotic situation of a driver serving a wealthy noblewoman on a picnic on the lawn. Having failed to do anything, they return the car to the car rental owner, with whom they have a quarrel. The wife, exasperated by her husband's constant love failures, slaps him and insults her by giving him the culleton. At that point, the offense to his own manhood unlocks the inhibition of the husband, who achieves a normal erection. Unfortunately, the fleeting moment occurs in a car in the middle of traffic and no one can stop them, not even the wrecker. A bodyguard is tasked with protecting the life of a young woman. The man, to carry out his duty, does not hesitate to follow her everywhere, in the bedroom, in the bathroom, and even when she is naked, taking away any privacy. The physical appearance of the man, who has a very particular look, also contributes to creating a certain embarrassment. Maddening is also the behavior he has with the client's friend, who are being controlled in an obsessive manner. Because of this zeal, he will eventually have a confrontation with the woman's view, from which a situation full of surprises will arise. Bodyguard and client will become very close. In Zurich, Salvatore is a mysterious fixer who shows up at the home of a rich and married lady and offers her a large sum of money in exchange for intercourse. The latter feeling offended before she throws him out, then convinced by her word, think about it and accept. This situation is repeated twice more, first at home and then in the women's bathroom at the airport, while the woman awaits the arrival of her husband, a portly industrialist. After the love in the bathroom, the woman discovers with surprise her husband together with the fixer. At this point, the woman realizes that she has been cheated. Naples. Adriano is a distinguished man who visits an apartment offered for rent. During the visit, he sees from the window a charming girl hovering on the ledge of the condominium, about to commit suicide. After having distracted her from her purpose, he tries to comfort her, and noticing her attractiveness, he also tries a love approach, which however he failed due to the presence of the girl's dog named Othello. The animal, large and ferocious, does not tolerate stranger approaching her mistress. Then the man, trying to escape the dog, ends up in his turn on the ledge. While he is there, passerby gather and firefighter are called. Suddenly the dog's aggression causes him to lose his balance and causes a fall, without consequences thanks to the rescue prepared by the firefighters. Then the man trying to escape the dog ends up in his turn on the ledge. While he is there, passerby gather and firefighter are called. Suddenly the dog's aggression causes him to lose his balance and causes a fall, without consequences thanks to the rescue prepared by the firefighter. Heterogeneous episodic comedy divided into 5 segments and directed by the always excellent Sergio Martino, who also wrote the screenplay together with Tonino Guerra. 40 Degrees in the Shade of the Seat is one of the great little cult of the genre. The title promises well and makes you understand right away where you want to go. In fact, love and hot situation are certainly not lacking. Ready go, and let's start with the most dirty episode of all. With a sensational Edwige Fenech in a full fire Bolognese version and an incredible Thomas Milan, unrecognizable, made up with her wig and very thick goggles in the role of a telephone molester. Should anyone ever again want to question the immense acting quality of the Cuban actor, just look at this fragment to sweep away the last doubt. Although penalized by a Romanian dubbing, it is Alberto Lionello who lent him his voice. The character of Milan is absolutely crazy and unforgettable, and the episode, although not the best, rises to the rank of absolute cult, if only for the final one with the future beast in hit Salvatore Boccaro. It then continues with the couple, Giovanni Ralli, Alberto Lionello, who try to face his impotence and revive their relationship with various disguises that can create potentially exciting atmosphere and situation. Next is probably the longest and most graceful episode of the lot, with an amazing Marty Feldman, and with the beautiful former Playboy star Diley Hayden. Frankenstein Jr., who squint his enormous eyeball, embellishes the episode and gives Gogo laugh. It will be up to him, diligent bodyguard, to save the young Hayden from the clutches of the perfidious Mimo crowd. In a segment that contains some analysis with another episode played by Alberto Sordi in DJ Science, we then move on to the episode with Enrico Montesano and an explosive Barbara Bush, rather quick but also decidedly push. Here the seat of the title will become really hot. And finally we conclude with Sidney Rome and Aldo Messiano, who find himself facing a very fearsome German shepherd, extremely jealous of his mistress would-be suicide. A film to be seen absolutely in its full version, given that the master who run in television show is literally massacred by censor cut. The music is also mythical, the dominant theme of the entire film reproduced in various versions. Sergio Martino, given the good public success, will direct a sort of sequel the same year. Let's undress so shamelessly.